Yo, what's up everybody? It's Drewberry and I'm back with another custom card video. Let's go. This is number 23 and I know some people were kind of like, hey, what happened to number 21? If anyone was paying attention, we didn't actually have that. We skipped it. Well, don't worry. There's something special planned for that. I had hoped to get it out sooner, but there's some delays, so stay tuned. That'll be coming soon. But anyways, this week we're talking about cards with the keyword power. That's in reference to the power on the card, but it was used in a lot of creative applications in this video. I'm excited to share those cards with you guys. But the next week's challenge is all about locations. Okay, so there's 3 criteria that I want to explain for this challenge to just open it up to everyone as much as possible. Okay, so with locations, you can either create a custom location or you can create a card, a custom card with a custom location. So, you know, like things like Magic where it creates Limbo, or Storm where it creates a flooded location, that sort of thing. Okay, so you could do a double. You could custom card into custom location, it spawns that custom location, or you could just create a custom card that spawns, whatever you want to call it, a location that's actively in the game, right? So imagine, total random example that makes no sense, but imagine Onslaught, instead of his ability being what it is, as we know it, instead it was said, create Onslaught Citadel here, or something along those lines, right? I forget the exact text that's on Magic, etc. But those kind of cards, okay? So there's 3 ways you can kind of create it, but it all blends together to be something location focused. And don't think that just one is better than the other. Whatever you're capable of doing, I want to have a variety of all 3 of those options on the next week's video, okay? So that is the challenge. If you have any questions, ask me in the Discord, but you should jump into the very first Discord right now because you can talk about custom cards, you can get feedback on your custom ideas, and then also we're just doing all kinds of things like talking about, you know, deck strategies, congratulating everybody and getting infinite. We're talking about the snap lock, so lots of good stuff going on over there. And you can create a card right here. But if you want to create a location, there isn't a tool for that just yet. Instead, you can jump into the Braverse Discord and there is a channel about custom locations and there's some templates pinned. So you do need a little bit of editing software if you want to make a custom location. It's not too hard though. It's really, really easy. But there is that extra step. That's why I opened it up to just being a card that you can create that spawns a location that's actively in the game, right? So that barrier isn't quite there for everybody. And then lastly, you can post that submission, whichever one you want to go with, in the weekly challenge channel. Now, a few notes here, okay? So if you do create a card and then you decide, or location in this instance, and then later on you decide you want to change it, well, just go back and delete the old one, okay? Anyone who doubles up, I'm not going to actually choose you as a winner. And then also try to make the background transparent. That helps me out a whole bunch. And then also, if you want to talk about the card, there's another channel, the custom card channel, where you can, you know, have discussion with other people about those cards. I encourage emoting if it's in a positive manner to just show your appreciation for that custom card. But if you want to dive into a discussion, there's a separate channel for that. Okay, guys? So that is the next week's challenge. Let's get into this week's winners. All right, but first, really quickly, we have my card. So I went with Hope Summers. I wanted to give my take on this card. It's a popular card that's made into, or a popular character rather, into a card. And she is a 3/0, got that Mystique stat line. And on reveal, copy the power of the first card you played this game. So a couple of important notes here is, 1, it's the first card that you played, and if something were to happen to that card, right? If it were destroyed, like you could say like, oh, Ebony Maw would be a great option, or Sunspot, right? I have that as an option because she'll copy that power. Yeah, that's fantastic and all, but if Killmonger comes out and destroys it, then Hope Summers does not have a target for the rest of the game. Just doesn't have a target. It just will not happen. Taskmaster always copies the last card that you played, but if the last card that you played got destroyed, he has nothing to copy. You'd have to play another card, and then he's going to copy it. So same with Hope Summers. If the first card that you play gets destroyed, she gone. She got no value. She can't do anything, okay? Unless you negatize it or something like that, right? Another thing is, I was like, okay, well, there's all those, like, you know, Shuri Red Skull buffs, and like, that's so good that they're getting so much power, and then Taskmaster just copies that seamlessly. Well, this is kind of working around it. It makes that fun strategy of copying power, but you can't make that work because if the first card you played is Shuri into your Red Skull, well, then Hope Summers is going to copy Shuri, which isn't so great. So really, you're only looking at like a card's base value, or if it can grow. So that was what I was thinking with the cards on the left there, is you have Sunspot that can grow to high power totals, right? You can get him to like, I don't know, like 6 in kind of no time. By the way, yes, that is the old version. He's a 1/0 now, not a 1/1. Just couldn't be bothered to change it. But you get the idea, right? He could get to like 6 power relatively quickly. Hope Summers can copy that. She'll get the 6 power because it's whatever he is right now, okay? Namor, same idea. If you wait 3 turns and then you play Namor as your first card on turn 4, I was trying to think of cards that have high value early on that you could wait, and Namor is kind of one of them because he's going to jump to 11. Then Hope Summers can be a 3/11 on your turn 5 or 6, whenever you want to play her. So that's pretty nice. It's also the benefit of being able to play cards after you've played the first card. You already know that whatever that first card is that you played, Hope Summers is going to copy that. So you don't have to worry about what you play afterwards, and you can save her till the final turn. I can imagine you like discount this with like, I don't know, Sarah or something for a big turn 6, playing a bunch of cards, knowing Hope Summers is going to trigger hopefully that high value card. Like Angela's going to stack a bunch of power. If you do like the bounce synergies, right, with Kitty Pryde bouncing it back and forth, if she ever comes back to the game, and then you get those Angela buffs and you get her to like 8, 10 power or whatever, and then Hope Summers can copy that, that'd be fantastic, right? So I thought that'd be a good combination. Anyways, I don't know if this is too broken, but I don't think so. I think it's actually pretty reasonable because it's kind of hard to meet the condition. If you look at a bunch of cards, basically below the 4 cost, like you could straight up just wait till turn 5, play Red Skull, right? Get 12 power and then copy it with Hope Summers for another good amount of power, and then I don't know, like do Absorbing Man, right? I don't know, somehow maybe get a discount in there. I don't know, but that could be the idea. You just basically wait until turn 5 and do it 1-2. But I feel like that's too slow and doesn't do enough. That's like saying you could just play Sunspot, wait the whole game, and then play Infinite. Like it doesn't always work out that way, right? So I feel like this is fairly balanced. I think this is okay. Cheaper than Taskmaster, but more conditioned, a little bit more difficult to get high value off of. Okay, let's get to the top 10 winners. Number 10, Fish's Red Hulk. All right, so Red Hulk is a 5 cost, -8 power. Okay, so very poor stat line. But Red Hulk is going to, on reveal, destroy your deck. See ya, gone. You're not drawing a card on turn 6 if you're playing this on 5. Add its total power to this card. Pretty fascinating. So there's a few massive implications with this. Massive, right? Look at Red Hulk. But basically, Null and Death are like just insane, right? Because Null is going to get insane value. You can play Null on 6, and then you probably can play Death as well for free. So that's like the 3-card combo. You like straight up, you would almost want to have somebody play Black Widow against you. You keep the Widow's Bite in your hand if you get those 3 cards. I know obviously that's a fairly difficult situation to enable, but you could probably just win with Red Hulk and Null in that instance anyways. And then anyways, you're holding on the Widow's Bite, and then you just leave your deck, and you Red Hulk, destroy it all. Null becomes like 40 power. Death is cheap, free probably, and then you play both. And your Red Hulk is insane as well. Now, obviously, this gets countered by a few things. Maybe, Shang-Chi is going to probably destroy these. I mean, -8 power is no joke. To get past that, you'd have to have a couple of big things. But I think fairly easy in the right deck, you could probably get this to like, 10 at least. 20, like in that range, 10 to 20 range. And I think you're happy with that because of the synergies with the other cards. So it's just a little too strong, I think. I think this is actually a little bit too strong. Not to mention you can maybe do like a negative deck. I don't know how that would work because the way it doesn't work so well with negative is that you end up flipping everything else in your deck, and that might not be all that good. You might only get like 5 power off of those cards, and then they're cheap, and those cards you actually want to play, right? Like you want to draw them and play them if you negatize them. You don't want to destroy them, maybe last case scenario, but anyways, I did really like the idea of destroying your deck. It's such a savage, big play that could also have crazy implications with like things like X-Mansion, right? Like, oh my gosh, that would be devastating. And it's a big counter to a very popular card in Darkhawk right now, where you would just like eliminate his power. He'd go straight to 0, and that would absolutely devastate those decks. It would keep them in check for sure. It'd almost become a tech card possibly for like that turn 6 Red Hulk just to eliminate the power of the Darkhawk deck. So that'd be pretty neat. Anyways, great submission. Thank you for submitting. And let's get to number 9. Number 9, LittleBoyBlue's Tombstone. All right, Tombstone is a 2/4 ongoing. The cost of cards in your hand are equal to this card's power. So this seems a little bit broken to me. This is kind of crazy because he has 4 power. If anything, more power on this card would be helpful. Almost like Wakandan MZC comes out and he becomes 6. Now all of a sudden all your cards in your hand are 6 costs. That would suck, right? But I think basically it's like wave on repeat. Like all of you can play a 6 drop on 4, 5, and 6, and Tombstone is good tempo. You get good power for it. So that's a little bit broken. I think straight up, this is just too much mana cheat. but it's kind of close in the electro range, right? But there was a big downside to electro, and he only gives +1 energy, so not quite. So that's where I feel like this card is just a little bit too broken. I think actually it could be a 2-5 or 3-5 or 4-5 even, something like that would be a little bit more balanced. But what I really enjoyed about this is that if you can actually manage to reduce the power of Tombstone, right? Like you want to, I don't know, get Scorpioned, right? Play them at the negative zone. Oh my gosh, dude. Now all your cards are mad cheap. That's kind of crazy. That's a very interesting way to go about, discounting your hand to reduce the power of a certain card. That's pretty fascinating. There isn't actually that much that can reduce the power of your cards. You could think of like Typhoid Barrier and Hazmat. I feel like those are the two that could maybe work with this just to get further reductions. But then maybe deck building becomes a constraint because like, what do you toss those in hoping that you get Tombstone and then a bunch of 6-drops so that you can, get the value off of Tombstone. Don't really know exactly how you deck build, but I'm sure with these kind of discounts, you would find some crazy combinations. Just straight up like the Dino Dr. Doom deck that runs rampant right now would just adore this, right? It would just be ridiculous. So anyways, I really like the idea conceptually, but it's just a little bit too strong. That's why I put it at number 9, but thank you for submitting. Number 8, Victon's the Fury. All right, so the Fury is a 4/3. After an enemy card at this location gains power, this also gains that much power. Okay, this is like what I imagine Shadow King wishes he was, right? Or at least before his change, because he was a 4/3 stat line that kind of just like set the all the cards at that locations back to their original power. Except here, the Fury is just going to gain all of the power from what your opponent is trying to accumulate. Now, that's a bit slow, actually. I think this suffers from the same issue that Shadow King had, isn't that, you play this, and what if they've already gained all the power that they want? What if they don't even plan on gaining power at that location? What if they just play cards there, and then it just doesn't really do anything, kind of whiffs? It's just an interesting tech option. But you could use it at a location where Black Panther is going to be dropped, and then you just absorb all of that power from the doubling, right? That's pretty good. And I imagine if like Black Panther went from 4 to 8, you would get 4. You wouldn't double yourself, right? So you would go to 7. You're still trying to play catch up a little bit there, but you can still get 2 crazy power totals. But then they might like Arnim Zola off of the location, so that's an issue too. But then there's things like Morbius, Sunspot, even if they put Null early or something like that. Just anything that's going to slowly climb in power. Angela, Bishop, all the rest of them. Boom, the Fury is going to gain that much power. Another one is Hitmonkey. Person plays Hitmonkey at the Fury location. The Fury player has priority. They show 4/3 Fury, and then the Hitmonkey gets on revealed, and boom, gets like that 10 power that we know Hitmonkey can get to. And then bam, the Fury is just like, yeah, thank you very much. I'll take that with my bonus default base power of 3. So this could definitely work against a few cards, but it could absolutely whiff against quite a lot, which just gives me Shadow King vibes for some reason. But it's a very cool idea. It's very balanced, I think, and I appreciate that about this card. That is pretty balanced, good tech option. Another crazy thing about this card is any strategies where you're putting your cards elsewhere to give power to your other cards. So like Blue Marvel, Khazar, right? Like Ironheart, even like this will soak up some of that wherever it is. Like if it's Blue Marvel, it's giving +4 to the other side of the field here. The Fury is going to be taking up a single location and soaking up that +4. That is pretty nasty. That's pretty awesome. But again, you'd have to have the Fury out first because it's after an enemy card gains power at this location. So that's the tricky part for me with this one, but it's pretty balanced, very cool. Thank you for submitting. Number 7, Xelar 8, Gravity. All right, Gravity is a 4/2 ongoing +1 power for each time a card moved this game. Let's go, move synergies, and what a great one. I feel like this is the Morbius of move kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? Feels pretty good. Pretty powerful, in fact. With Heimdall, you can move maybe like 7 cards, right? That would be 7 power for Gravity, not even including all of the other power that you accumulated from maybe moving like once or twice with Cloak, anything like that. It's also reciprocal. So if you can move your opponent's stuff as well as your own, so Cloak is a great strategy for that, you're getting all of that value from Gravity. Like that's so good. I think you could easily, in a move deck, appropriately get this to a 4/10, which is the stat line, right? That is the stat line that 4 costs dream of being in Marvel Snap. So that's pretty good. And then also, if you look at it, there's counters. Shang-Chi, Enchantress, Rogue. Like Rogue would be so nasty. Taking this ongoing ability and your opponent's doing all the movement for you? Oh my goodness, so good. And they're almost like the same power total, so it's not even that much of a tempo loss with that. So like, oh my gosh, that would be super valuable. Yeah, I really like this card. I feel like this should be in Marvel Snap to really help move decks. I say it so often in these custom card videos, but I really feel like Move is 1 or 2 powerful cards away from being a fantastic deck, and this one would really make it happen. This is just so cool. It needs like that built-in condition where it's not about moving gravity. You do not have to move gravity. You got to move the other cards. Like we have so many cards that benefit from being moved. Like, well, not a lot, but you got quite a few. What we need is more cards that benefit from when other cards are moved, right? Getting that boost. You could look at like Miles Morales and Kraven. I feel like those are the only 2 really that we have. So you throw in gravity and then maybe we have a deck. We have a move deck that can be viable. Not that move decks aren't completely viable, but you know what I mean. They're definitely more difficult than other archetypes. So I would love to see this. This is a great submission. Fantastic card. Thank you. Number 6, Nogolov's Morris. Oh my goodness. Look at Morris. He looks fantastic. Where's his face? Who knows? Who cares? Morris is a 1/1. After turn 3, change this location to Ta-Lo. Ta-Lo? I hope that's how it's pronounced. But regardless, this is a fantastic showcase of what I'm looking for next week's challenge, right? This can be a card. This is a custom card that summons a custom location. But you could either have just the custom location, or you could have a custom card, and that location could not be Ta-Lo. It could be an active location in the game. Okay, so that's the way the challenge is working. So thank you, Nogolov, for showcasing this, but also for this great submission, because the location is after each turn, cards with 9 or more power move here. Okay. So it's kind of like Asteroid M moving those 3 and 4 costs, but these are high power cards. And basically, what's that doing? It's saying, get over here, Red Skull, get over here, Taskmaster, so I can Shang-Chi you. Now, obviously, if armor's on the field, that's going to be a problem, but armor's not going to be moved over here. So maybe you just, play Morris at the location where armor isn't, or Cosmo or anything like that, so that you can guarantee your Shang-Chi snipes, and anytime your opponent plays those high power cards, they're going to get wrecked. Now, of course, this is after the turns, and you got to play Shang-Chi, during or before or whatever. So if it's on that final turn, they move, they play a 9 power card, it's going to move there, which could be a detriment to their game plan, or they plan for it, but you can't Shang-Chi it. So that's the problem there. But what a cool combination with Shang-Chi. I love this. Just setting it up, changing location. So Morris actually is a little bit possibly broken because it's location change. So anytime you can remove a location, so think of the Reality Stone in the Thanos deck, right? That's almost all of the stones have incredible value because you have the ability to change a location that you don't like, that's not working for your strategy, into something that is working for you. And this is exactly that. But there's no other synergies, right? And this is after turn 3. I actually love the fact there's that condition. It's not just on reveal, change this location. Instead, you got to get Morris out before all these locations are shown or revealed. Because if they're all revealed, right, then you can't play Morris. It's after turn 3. So in a way, you kind of have to either pick one of the first 2 that you don't like, that you think won't work with your strategy, or you just, play it on that 3rd location to throw that away and hope your opponent played armor by that time, which is really neat. And it balances this card out because, after turn 4, this is a dead card. You cannot get that location out. It's just a 1/1 that's going to do nothing, has no synergies or anything. So that's a problematic. Maybe you end up running this in like a Khazar Zoo deck where you just have Shang-Chi as like a finisher to deal with all of your opponent's high power cards. I could see that. That'd be really fun. A nice little Morris deck. We need it. It's so good. Number 5, the Great Guardians, the Punisher 2099. Yo, I love this card. So look at the art. The art looks so fresh. Oh my gosh, it looks so badass. So the Punisher 2099 is a 6/4, and the ability, I have to admit, I slightly changed, and I hope you don't mind, Great Guardian. I really like the idea you're going here, but the underlying part I did change. So ongoing +3 power for each turn your opponent had priority this game. So the Great Guardian had it originally, and you can tell me which one's better, had it originally as for each turn that you had priority. And I just thought from a thematic standpoint, the Punisher needs something to punish. And if your opponent's been greedy and soaking up the priority all game, then the Punisher 2099 is going to punish them for having priority. I just thought maybe from a thematic standpoint, that would work a little bit smoother. But maybe from a balance standpoint, your version works a lot better because there's a lot of great synergistic cards here in Ghost. Finally, Ghost has value. You get like the best synergy card for Ghost. Ghost is notoriously like one of the worst Series 5 cards to be released to date, I would say. And then this would just work beautifully. This would be like giving +3 power to a card like every single turn. That's basically what Ghost would be doing. It's fantastic. And then if you have 6 turns of not having priority, that's 18 power. This gets to 22. You add another extra turn with Magic into Limbo. That's another 3 power. That's 25 power on your Punisher 2099. Possibly broken. I don't know. And then you could also flip it with Mr. Negative, I thought. Just get it to a 4/6, easier to play a little bit sooner. Maybe you want to play something later because it's an ongoing effect. It's going to keep racking up that power for every time you don't have priority. And Mr. Negative has negative power to kind of ensure that you don't have priority as well. So I thought that was a good combo. But again, I did slightly change the text. Guys, I don't do this to the custom cards very, very rarely. Usually it's just about like changing out the words to make it sound a little bit more fluent, like for English or anything like that. I don't actually change the integrity of the ability, but I just thought from a thematic standpoint, this would work. And I liked your idea so much, Great Guardian. I think both work too. Like, it's not all that different. Your opponent has priority or you have priority, like whichever one you want to go with. You guys can let me know in the comments below which one would be kind of cooler, more balanced, more fun to play with. But anyways, I really like the idea. I love the art. It'd be really fun to have more cards that fight over priority. It gives Ghost a little bit more life, right? That'd be kind of neat for it to be a viable card. Shoot, someday. Number 4, Cabbage Cage's Dark Phoenix. Oh my gosh, I cannot not put Cabbage Cage in these videos because the art is through the roof. Here's the ability. So it's a 6/9, great stat line. On reveal, destroy all friendly 2 and 3 cost cards. Add their power to this card. So that's kind of crazy, right? You just play a whole bunch of 2 and 3 cost cards and then you destroy them and you soak up the power. I think this easily can get to like 15, 20 range in power totals. It was noted by Cabbage Cage that 2 things. It is easily countered by Cosmo. So you got to watch out for that. It would do absolutely nothing. Then you're just playing a 6/9 that doesn't have the benefit of like America Chavez. Or it also, there's armor out there. You can't destroy things. Professor X out there that you can't destroy things. So that causes problems. But on top of that, she's always in Shang-Chi range. And if you destroy all of your other stuff, removing power elsewhere from the board to absorb it into Dark Phoenix, well, then she might just get destroyed by Shang-Chi and then you get like almost no value. Now this works with some other things. If you can cheat Dark Phoenix out early, it can work with your death, it can work with your null, that typical destroy package, right? Colossus out there, he doesn't get destroyed, he can chill. Bucky Barnes, even though it's only soaking up 1 power, you can get the Winter Soldier out pretty easily. Kind of similar to like the Destroyer effect, except it's only 2 and 3 cost cards. But other great synergies, funny enough, Wolverine, right? I thought that was cool just for like the lore reasons. Great synergies there. He goes back out as a 4 power. She soaks up 2 if that's the first time that he's been destroyed, of course. Sabretooth could be another one, right? You get that back to the hand if you do have the ability to do another turn, like if you have magic out there with Limbo, or any means really to cheat this out slightly early to destroy those things early, get the power, and then move on to play your death, to play your Sabretooth again, anything like that, right? Just kind of wild. It is only friendly stuff though. That's certainly a good thing. And it doesn't have the same power total as Destroyer, so maybe it finds itself in being a bit of a balanced state. But I feel like in most scenarios it might be a little bit busted. Not to mention it could destroy Green Goblin, which is kind of funny if it's on your side of the field, right? You pair this with Killmonger, you basically can destroy anything that's like a rock, a goblin, or any of that nasty stuff that ends up on your side of the board. But also, while you're enjoying this incredible art, I'll of course have a Dark Phoenix's main variant right in the middle there, Cabbage Cage's personal touch on this card showcase. But also, he created a fantastic showcase of the effect and animation, which I love. So I'll have that playing over top of this as well for you guys to check out. The artwork is just through the roof. I love the 2 variants on the side as well. Oh my gosh, they're fire, literally on fire. Thank you as always, Cabbage Cage. I really appreciate it. You do incredible work. I'm not going to be able to showcase you every time though. Number 3, Max Beam's Atlas. All right, Atlas. Dude, this one is so neat. So 3/2 ongoing +1 power for every open spot on the board. Every open spot, your opponent's side, my side, doesn't matter. If there's an open spot, Atlas is going to use that as fuel, as power to get big. I like it. So it kind of works in the destroy package, right? Imagine if you flood your opponent's side of the board with debris and a bunch of rocks and whatever else you got going on, you give them a Widow's Bite, etc., and then you Killmonger to open up the space and you play Atlas. Not too bad. Not too bad. You could get this like, geez, it's hard to say, but like in an ideal world, if your opponent only played like, I don't know, let's say 3 cards, right? That's going to leave 9 space on their side. You only played 3 cards. That's 9 space on your side. That's 18 total power, 320. That's crazy, right? But like, that's not really going to happen. I think almost, even if you're playing a slow deck, almost every time your opponent probably filled their side of the board or your side of the board got filled somehow. Like, you got to play cards. Things are going to spawn. People are going to send things over. There's just so much that can happen that I think in most instances, you would get Atlas to maybe like, I don't know, like probably pretty reasonably a 3-6, 3-7 even. And then it's ongoing as well. You can maybe stack that with like, I don't know, Spectrum, Onslaught, those kind of things to get the buffs. So that's nice as well. And then again, like I said, the destroy stuff would help out open up that space. You at least have the control on your side of the board. I just feel like to win a game, you have to play a certain amount of cards to meet a power threshold. And Atlas, I don't know if he could carry himself. Not to mention there's things like Enchantress, Rogue, you know, those sorts of things, Super Scroll out there to stop all the ongoing effects. You always got to watch out for that. But I thought this was a really cool card. What an interesting way to play on the spots on a board. We don't really see that. And then there's location implications, right? Because like, what if it's Sanctum Sanctorum is up? Good shot that you can't play anything there. Your opponent might not be able to. That's a free 8 power for Atlas. Boom. It's a 310, right? Of course, they can maybe move something, etc., etc. But then there's the Space Throne. What happens there? Well, the way I imagine is there's only one spot on each side. So that'd only be one potential power point for each player. And probably they're going to fill it, which results in less power for Atlas. And then there's also Galactus implications, which people are probably wondering about. And from my knowledge of playing Galactus, doing a lot of experiments with Galactus, I can pretty confidently tell you that Atlas would not get the bonus power from the destroyed locations. There would then only be a total of 8 potential open spots on the board because of Galactus, but then Galactus is filling one, Atlas is filling one, and I'm sure your opponent's going to play something other than Galactus. You're probably going to play something other than Atlas, and you're probably looking at only getting maybe 2 power plus in a Galactus scenario. So that doesn't work quite well. But otherwise, I really think just the whole flooding your opponent's side of the board to destroy the stuff later to open up space for Atlas is a sick idea. Love this concept. Thank you for submitting. Number 2, Requalis play. Ikaris. All right, so Ikaris is a 3/3. Once per turn, you may tap this to spend 1 energy to give +1 power to your other cards here. Dude, I love that this is becoming a keyword, and I've kind of refrained from putting this in the custom card challenge, but I really like this one, so I ended up putting it. And basically, spoiler alerts, if you kind of try to avoid spoilers for upcoming cards, data mine cards that maybe turn away now, but I'm going to talk to you about a card that is data mine that should be coming into the game fairly soon, and that is Howard the Duck. And when you tap Howard, you can see what the top card on your deck is. Okay, that's an actual data mine card for Marvel Snap. So tap is actually going to be a keyword in the game, the way I see it. And I think it works pretty well. You tap it, something happens. And in this instance, you're spending energy for the tap, which I think is pretty neat, right? It's another engine. It's another option. You can move things. You can play things. Now you can tap things. Great. I think it works beautifully. So with Ikaris, you can tap him to spend 1 energy to get +1 power to your other cards here. So if you have 3 other cards here, that's +3 power, right? It's almost like a Captain America effect, except you can keep tapping every turn to keep getting 3 power, which begs the question, is 1 for 3 power worth it every single turn, right? We look at cards like Blade, we look at things like Zero, etc., that can be pretty strong plays, but after a while, would losing your tempo on your curve be worth the 3 power? Probably yes, honestly, because you're not taking up a space. I think that's the key thing here, is that Ikaris is pumping out that power on his own. Now, there's no synergies here either. It's not like Ironheart where you can then play Odin or use it with Wong. Like, there's no on reveal. There's no ongoing. It's tap. We don't have any tap synergies. Stay tuned. We will definitely be doing tap as a keyword in the foreseeable future, probably closer to when Howard actually is released, so people understand and are aware of the card, okay? But I think it's fascinating. I think it's so cool, and I think this would be really good because literally you tap Ikaris, let's say twice, that's a net 5 energy, but then you have 9 power output. Like, not too bad, especially if a few of those cards that are there that might benefit greatly from getting power increases, right? So that would be great. Maybe there's a world where there's like a Cerebro strategy where you're trying to tap up to a certain power potential and then you have other cards to match or something along those lines. Maybe, who knows? Maybe you want to get cards just under Shang-Chi range, but high enough power that you can like easily win that location. Something along those lines as well. Maybe you want to use it in a move deck where you buff up your Human Torch with Ikaris just to move it later and then it gets doubled. Something like that as well could be pretty neat. I don't know, there's a lot of strategies, and I think it's pretty neat. It's a little bit easier than Captain America. Captain America, the card has to stay there, he only gets +1 power. That's it, you're done. Like, that's it. But Ikaris continues to get value, continues to give value, continues to fill out your curve. If, say, on turn 5, you only have a 4-drop that you want to play, or you only want to spend 4 energy, now you have this alternative option to create more opportunity to output power. And I think that is so cool. So thank you for submitting. This was awesome. Number 1, Percival's Oddball. Oh my goodness, I never would have thought I would pick a character like this for number 1. You know, when I choose these cards, I'm looking for the full package, right? Like the effect, the art, like it all comes and blends together, but it's got to be a really good ability or a very interesting ability for me anyways to be number 1. That's why Percival snagged number 1 in this scenario, because Oddball has a very cool ability. He is a 4/3 ongoing. If all your cards have odd power, they have +2 power. I love that. So there was a card in Hearthstone. I forget the names of them now, but anyways, there was 2 of them, and they would at the start of the game, if all the cards in your deck had odd cost or even cost, then certain abilities would occur. Okay, so it created these odd and even decks. I think this is like a Marvel Snap equivalent of that. Yeah, it's not cost, it's power, but that has even more interesting implications, because what if there's locations where your opponent does things to reduce or change the power of your cards? Like, all it would take is like 1 Scorpion Whip and you're ruined, which is why I have Luke Cage there as like almost a necessary card to be added in an Oddball deck to ensure that you have odd powered cards to get the benefit from Oddball, right? And Luke Cage actually has odd power himself, so he'd become a 2/3 and protect the integrity of all the power of your other cards. I think that's awesome combo. Another one would be Bast. Bast is 1 power, works with Oddball, becomes a 1/3, and would make all the cards in your hand have 3 power, which is also an odd number. So it just works so perfectly together. On top of that, there's Valkyrie. Valkyrie can do the same thing. She can change all to 3. And then you do that thing where like you play like Wasp and you play like Yellowjacket and whatever, all these cheap things at a location, and then you Valkyrie it, right? Because like your opponent didn't see that swing coming. But then all your cards are going to go from 3 to 5 and theirs are going to stay at 3, and boom, you win because you had Oddball and Valkyrie out there. Wow. That would be so sick. I think there's so many cool ways to use this card and to deck build with it, right? And then I'm not even talking, like, those are just a few strategies out the top of my head. Then there's other stuff that are just like Professor X. He has 3 power, right? He could go to 5. Boom, you have 5 power. Professor X is that much more reliable. And if you have other oddball character, odd power characters at that location, even more value for Professor X. You could almost do like a Cerebro thing, right? Where you get all the +2 power to your odd stuff, right, from Cerebro, and then Oddball is going to further increase that, because if it's like Cerebro 3 or Cerebro 5, it's going to go to 7 or 5 respectively, and then Oddball will just take that to the next notch. And then that's another opportunity for Mystique to copy. Mystique can copy either Cerebro or Oddball. So you have all these crazy possibilities for getting these high power totals, but you are heavily, as you can tell from a lot of the cards that I've just mentioned, heavily relying on ongoing effects. And that lies the common counter in Enchantress, Super Skrull, and Rogue. More so Enchantress Rogue, I think, in this instance, because Super Skrull might not work out. But anyways, regardless, that is what you'd have to worry about. But then you just play Cosmo and you're fine, right? It's just super cool. I think you could have Oddball and then you could have Even Ball. I don't even know if that's a character, but you could have, you know, and then those would be the two, and they could be like different ways to deck build. And maybe that'd be too strong. Maybe you'd have to, I don't know, mitigate the power here somehow. Maybe you make it only +1. So it's just like a Blue Marvel kind of effect for all your Oddball powered characters. I think that'd be pretty neat. But the +2 feels pretty reasonable, right? For now, until there's some broken strategy out there, or Cerebro runs a little bit too rampant because it just figured out the meta. Anyways, there you go, guys. That is going to be the custom card video for Power. Really cool applications. Love the cards this time around. I'm looking forward to the locations. We did this once before where we did custom locations, and it was really fun to cover, but it felt a little bit restrictive. That's why I opened it up this time. So I'm really curious to see what you guys come up with. Thank you as always for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.